Welcome to Bite-Sized PL, professional learning you can consume during lunch or on a dog walk or while you sip hot cocoa by the fire. Our goal is to provide meaningful, engaging, and brief conversations for educators. I'm Jeanette, and my co-host today is Kate.
Hello, Jeanette.
Hello. Our guest today is Julie Laub, science teacher at Davis High School, the author of the book Lean Think, and one of our favorite mentors. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
Julie has a specialty that we want to share with you. And we've shared Julie already once before. Last year, we talked about dealing with student absence work and how to make sure that you were providing the best support for students who had been absent during that year where we had lots of students who were absent. Julie's specialty is delivering a high-quality product in the most efficient manner. And our focus today is related to this. We want teachers to believe they can deliver quality education in an efficient manner that is still warm and personal and supportive of students. Can we do that, Julie?
100%.
All right, great. Let's talk.
Well, Julie, I have been learning about teacher sustainability from you for so long, and I'm so grateful for that. And talking to you about this idea is one of my favorite discussions around teacher wellness. So I think it is the discussion around teacher wellness. So tell us a little bit about what a typical workday looks like for you and kind of how you move throughout the day, what you do, what you take home, what you do at school. What does it look like for you?
Oh, very good. Thank you. So I come in early. I am teaching a double productivity this year, so I knew that I was signing on to extra time before and after school since I wouldn't have a prep. So I'm in early 30 to 45 minutes. That's when I check emails. So when I go home, for the most part, I will scroll through emails as I come in at night, but I try and push as many as possible to that next morning. So I come in, get everything set up as far as computers on, look at the emails, and then I have a list. Every day I have a list, and I prioritize that list. What do I need to do first? That gives me about 30 minutes moving through that, kind of shaping the day, getting communication going, and typically at 7 o'clock, kids start strolling in that they need help, and that's when the day begins, even though the bell doesn't ring until 7:25. Work through the day, enjoy those students. My 90 minutes are shaped. Lunchtime, because it's a productivity, I am getting work done during that time, and I'm again just going through that hierarchy on my list. After school, I usually have students until about 3:30. Something new this year with a double productivity is I'm officially closing my door at 3:30. Where years past, I would let kids stay until they stayed, until they said, I'm done. So I'll give them the warning, hey, you guys, just like with the toddler, 10 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yes, right. 5 minutes. I'm going to be packing up. I close the door, and then I'm wrapping up that list and home, trying to leave by 4 o'clock. Now, if I had a productivity, that would be amended. I wouldn't be doing as much before and after
If you
school.
had a prep period.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so Julie, imagine this year if you did have a prep period, as most of our teachers should or do, especially our newer teachers. How would that shape your coming and going?
Such a great question. And I imagine those days sometimes.
You remember those.
Yes. It would be, I'm here at 7 o'clock when the kids begin to arrive and they need help. And then in that prep period, there's that hierarchy. There's my list of what I've established and the priorities that I need to tackle from most important to least. And then I would stay until so we do a chemistry tutoring that I run. We'd stay until that tutoring ends at 3:30, but everything would be done. Very honestly, even with my double productivity this year, I'm not taking any work home.
Say it again for the people in the back.
That's right. I'm not taking any work home. I'm not taking any work. No, but I have to give a disclaimer on that. So I am 12 years into this. That if I was, say, 5 years into this, there would be some things that I would be doing that I would not love. But I would say I'm unhitching this mentally, like you unhitch a trailer and you let it sit on the side pad in your next to your house. I would say this isn't perfect, but my priority is X. Maybe my priority this year is reframing all of the labs, but everything else, I'm going to maintain what it is so I can focus on this one thing that I'm changing. Because I've been at this 12 years, I can say, oh, I have things where I like them, where I want them. But that is a process, and it's not a fast process. It is a slow process. And as every year, picking one or two things that I would change and improve, because it has to be doable so that when I go home, I'm not taking work home, or I'm taking very little work home. In those first several years when I started doing Glean, there would still be some days that I would take work home. Now I don't have to, because I have things where they function really well. But I think it's good for people to know this is a process. And there are some things that we keep where they are because they're functional, even though they may not be perfect. And I'm going to do that next year. I'm going to do that in 2 years. Student learning is still effective. It's still moving. It's maybe just for me, not exactly where I want this particular item. I hope that made sense.
Absolutely. In fact, I love the very practical application of that whole, like, it's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon of like, there are things we want to do, but we're just not going to do them right now. So that kind of is the perfect segue into my next question, which is, what are your ideas for prioritizing among all of those things? What does feel like it can be unhitched? Because sometimes it feels like nothing can. And so that's when you start, spending all those hours. So what's your ideas for prioritizing?
So I'm going to give a foundation on this, because I know that we have some new teachers that will hear this, and new teachers know that you're loved and you're supported. These two people right here are great resources, Jeanette and Kate. First is establishing, who are you working for? Who's your customer? What's the goal for your class? And how are you going to measure that? For me, it's students learning chemistry, and it's that end of year test. Once you have that established, it's critical, and I know you guys are so great at supporting people in this, to have your year mapped, that you have that curriculum mapped, that you even have one word, what you're going to teach every day. And even if it's one word, it's equilibrium right here, or it's thesis sentence, whatever it is, you have for that year everything mapped out. Now, in prioritizing, I think there are a lot of resources and wonderful, wonderful mentor teachers that can give a plug and play of, hey, here is exactly what you can do this year. Take that. Can I say take that? Now, will you love everything? No. But what you do is you take what's given to you. You apply, hey, this is who I'm working for, my student. This is the goal. This is how we're going to measure it. And inside of that, you pick one thing that you're going to improve that year. So for me, maybe it was the tests. I think it was my third year that I thought my tests are awful. And that's really where I need to start. And so just year 3, I still maintained everything I had been doing, still loving these kids, still teaching them. They're still being successful. I left everything how it was, and I changed one thing. I rewrote every test. So, there's 20 tests. I rewrote 20 tests in 1 year, and that was improvement. Year 4, these labs really have been a thorn in my flesh, right? Mm-hmm. Finally, year 4, I can change every single lab, but it took a process to do that. So to start is take what's given to you, use that. You establish who you're working for, what you're going to teach, how you're going to measure that. Focus on that. Know what you're going to teach every single day. And then inside of that, you just pick one improvement. One improvement. That's all you have to do. One improvement. And then the next year, you'll pick one improvement. And before you know it, 12 years later, you can say, hey, I am teaching a double productivity and I take 0 work home. And the kids are doing great.
Oh, I'm just picturing teachers listening to this and thinking, I have so many balls in the air. What are the non-negotiables when it comes to student learning and teacher job satisfaction? What do they start with? What did you start with? What were the first things that you grabbed and said, this has to be the foundation?
Such a good question. It was my lesson plan. So I had that curriculum map. Okay, that's at least what I know every day, the topic I'm going to be teaching. And then I created my lesson plan, the pattern, and I almost think of it kind of like a bookshelf, or if you can imagine cubbies, that there are these slots that we could place something in each slot, and every day I just replace that slot. So I have the starter, and then we have our question time from last time, and then I have my introduction to the lesson I'm teaching. Then we have our activity, and then we have the next part of the lecture, and then we have some sort of maybe written activity where we're doing practice problems, and then it's students actually doing their work and me walking around and helping them. And every day I just replace what's the lecture, what are the activities? What's the hands-on activity? What's the written activity? So I had like these cubbies, and I just replaced every day. That's where I started. So what I inherited, okay, I have this test, I have this lab. Do I love them? No. But I have to start with, we've got to get through 90 minutes every day. And how can I do that successfully? So that was a priority. It was starting with, what does my lesson plan look like? Once I had those lesson plans, and it took me really 2 years to feel good about those, then, year 3, let's revamp tests. Year 4, let's revamp the labs. And then from there is, all kinds of tweaks and iterations. But that's where I started, was the lesson plan. Then I went to my tests. Then I went to my labs. But really, you're looking at a 5-year process to go through that. And so I took what was given to me and constantly saying, does this add value in that lesson? And moved from there.
So if we look at that on kind of the teacher job satisfaction side, do you believe that most teachers could do that first thing, that get the lesson plans in place without staying till 7, 8 o'clock at night?
If they use what's given to them, absolutely. Yes. If you take what these great seasoned teachers have to offer, even if you're not in love with it, even if it's not quite your style, that's all right. You're going to use that. You have to find what goes in the cubby. If you can at least have something in every cubby, if I could use that, if you could have something in every moment of that lesson plan is given to you. You don't have to recreate the wheel. So I'm not staying here till 7 o'clock at night. I'm using what's given to me, refining that over maybe year 1, year 2, even year 3 I didn't like this activity. Then teachers can have that balance. They can feel the success of, wow, we got through this day. The students learned, it was positive, and I'm not doing 5 hours. I'm not doing 3 hours. I'm not doing 2 hours of work outside of my contract time.
Yeah. And even teachers who are singletons in their building, there's someone in this district. Kate, you always say someone's teaching what you're teaching somewhere in this.
No, I say
district.
Someone has taught
we can find
7th grade English and taught it well. I don't know where they are, but we can find them.
Yes.
And I think adopting before, you adapt and really take it, and it's okay, and it'll just be while I can, to make it sustainable, which I think is. And elementary teachers, I love this idea of those cubbies for planning, because I think elementary teachers have figured that out, planning for a whole day. Right? It's like, it's that plug and play. It's like, okay, we have reading time from 10 to 10:20, and we always have reading time. We just pick a new book with a new thoughtful question, and I just think that makes it so much more sustainable, because once you start thinking of it that way, sure, you can move things around, or, oh, this lesson isn't really conducive to this, so I'm going to switch it around. But having that like outline, it's just such a nice visual. It's such a nice way to quickly plan.
It is. It standardizes it for you in your brain, but it also standardizes it for the students. So they know what to expect, and actually learning increases. Great evidence on that. The learning increases because they know what the pattern looks like in your classroom.
Love that.
Let's go into a little lightning round.
All right.
And the question is, how do you do X in a manageable amount of time, or when do you do it?
Okay.
So let's go with provide positive outreach to parents.
Oh, love this. I have a goal to email 5 parents a week. I just print my roles. I put them in the back of my book, and I'll put the date that I email them. So I watch how did students do on a test, and like, oh, they did good, so I'll make a mark, email that parent this week. And it's fast and easy. I have templates. Okay, don't tell parents out there, okay, you guys?
They understand.
Don't tell the parents that your student did great. And I'll, if I can add something personalized, I will. But it's called good job emails that I just type in, pulls that up. I cut and paste 5 of those. I replace names, and the students love it. Parents love it too.
That's so great. How do you support students who are way behind?
Oh, so good. I have my office hours. That's what I'm calling them. I'm calling them office hours. I have 270 students this year, so I can't be at the beck and call of every student. This is when I am available. And for the students that need help and remediation, I'm in more contact with parents of sending emails immediately. This test was taken or they didn't finish this homework real quick. I have a template that I just cut and paste. And here are my hours. Will they please come in? We've also created a tutoring program at Davis High, and the tutors are wonderful as well. But there you have it. I have office hours. This is when I'm available, and I invite them personally and the parents.
Utilizing student tutors is a great one. That great part of that. That's awesome idea.
It's been huge.
Good idea.
All right. How do you protect your personal time and priorities?
I had mentioned earlier, for the first time this year, I am calling it at 3:30, where I am closing the door, and I'll let the students know. So I'm framing when I'm here and when I'm leaving, and that has been huge in protecting my family's time and my time. When those priorities, unhitching some things of, no, this does not add value, or it's good as it is. Students are still being successful. It's maybe not where I want it, but I'm going to let that sit, because what's more important is healthy family, healthy teacher, healthy students.
How and when do you build a network or PLCs or professional relationships?
Another great question. It sounds like I compartmentalize a lot. I must. Is when that is given to us on those Wednesday mornings, that's what I take advantage of. That's when I'm going to PLC with them, since that's what's allocated. And that's also slow. It doesn't happen fast. Our PLC and our department work that we've done, it's been over years. I'm picking one thing, one or two things every year. So I love what you had said of adopt and then adapt. That's what we had to do as a group. And then, okay, what are we going to adapt as a group,
When do you go through student assignments?
I do that when the students in the classroom, when the students are productive and busy on their own. So they're working on a lab, they're working on some sort of activity. Test times. Testing is huge for me. When they're testing, I can get a lot of grading done, grading labs. And shout out to all of our online resources. Most of my assignments are now graded online, and that's been hugely helpful as well.
How about designing your Canvas or entering grades in Canvas?
So designing Canvas itself, I've put at the beginning of the school year. So I'll do that in August before school starts. That's it. Just so I don't have to worry about it during school time. But then taking care of the grading, I do that every Monday. So Monday mornings, I'll come in earlier if I know that there's extra grading that needs to be done. But Mondays, that's my grading day. And if I need to stay a little bit later, I just know Mondays. That's on the calendar. Monday's my day for grading.
Get to know your students.
The little 3x5 card at the beginning of the school year. Love the question, I wish my teacher knew. That's amazing what that brings up. And then your favorite thing that you want to tell me. And then as we're doing labs, I'll pick 5 of those cards for that class period. When I'm grading pre-labs, I'll say, so you like to hunt. Did you go hunting this year? Are you a ballerina? Are you a part of the Nutcracker this year? Anyway, that's how I'll do it, is those cards. And then I'll pick 5 for every lab. And throughout the course of the year, get to visit with their particulars.
So, Julie, what are the most important things that you do for yourself as a teacher?
Oh, as a teacher. Oh, you have to give yourself grace. Oh, see, look, I'm going to get emotional. Love the kids. Know that the most important thing is loving the students. Enjoy the students. Enjoy what you teach. At the end of the day, that's going to have a bigger impact in the student learning than any organization that I could do in my lab or content creation. Is enjoying the students, enjoying what I teach, and loving them in the process. So I think giving myself grace helps keep me sane. Sometimes you have rough days, and sometimes you have terrific days, and letting all of that just kind of work itself out, that it's all good and it's okay. Just give yourself grace. Love the kids. That's the most important thing. Give yourself grace.
Love that.
Wonderful. Well, we always like to leave with a gift. Do you have something in mind for our listeners that you're currently loving?
Oh, it's like a guilty indulgence.
Perfect.
We love those. We're all about
Ask
them.
for more.
I enjoy movies, and so just in this busy season, because it's Christmas right now, I've been putting on Christmas movies in the background while I'm doing stuff, and I usually don't do that. So that's been kind of this guilty indulgence of I'll have While You Were Sleeping playing, or some sappy Hallmark, cheesy Hallmark that my husband likes to tease me about, that he can predict what's going to happen.
But that's why you can have it on in the background.
Thank you
You
for
can
that.
it's like a soothing bubble bath for the brain. I love it.
Oh, I love that. What a great picture, Kate. Yes. Yeah, so there's a
Wonderful.
gift.
Thanks for sharing. We can't recommend Julie's book high enough. It's called Lean Think and available on Amazon.
Yes.
By Julie Laub, Laub. As always, thanks to our producer, Tom, for making us sound so good. This season, we are also putting video of the podcast on YouTube. You can continue listening on your favorite podcast app and also check out the video on our YouTube channel. Check out the show notes for that link. Thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe and share the podcast with others. See you at school.